once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, one and all, to a brand new edition of the Quinn Spinn. I'm your host, the Quinn. At least that's how I'm known here on the program. I'm back here on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and more for another rousing and riveting installment of the official podcast of Underground Music Collective. You just heard Revel 9's All It Become at the top of the show. That has been our opening theme song here at the Quinn Spinn since the great year of 2014, and it will be until the very end of days. And our homecoming to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania is getting close. So close that I can't help but pull out the old event staff uniform at ArtsQuest. Of course, the ArtsQuest Center at SteelStacks is where we will be, specifically on the Levitt Pavilion stage and the Town Square stage, for Sounds of the Underground on Friday, June 21st, beginning at 7:30 p.m. 8 acts across 2 stages, and I have one of those acts. Of course, Tye Vallone of T&MC, and of course, the Groove Merchants joining us. Tye's actually been on the show before, way back in our Bethlehem era, back when we were Lehigh Valley Underground. And he's performing on Sounds of the Underground. He is also, of course, going to tell you about everything else that he's got coming up the rest of the year. So make sure that you enjoy this episode. Make sure that you mark your calendars. A lot coming up for Tye and his multiple projects over the course of the rest of 2024. Let's get to the convo, shall we?
All right, we are back here on the Quinn Spinn. Everyone, as I mentioned at the top of the show today, we have joining us Mr. Tye Vallone, actually a returning guest to the Quinn Spinn. You were on, Tye, many moons ago back in the Bethlehem era of the show, of course, when Lehigh Valley Underground was the thing. And of the Groove Merchants and T&MC, who are joining us at Sounds of the Underground at SteelStacks, Friday, June 21st. Going to hear a few songs from y'all, of course. And we're going to hear from you right now, Tye. So first of all, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, man. It's good to be back in the spin, on the spin, in the spin. I don't know, whichever one.
I think on.
Pick the best.
Although
fix it in post. Pick the best one.
You know what? In actually kind of has a better ring. It rhymes. So we'll place that under review. You know, however you do that going forward. But thanks for joining. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what year it was off the top of my head, but I remember.
It was
Moravian.
Probably 2017, 2018, probably right around there.
Somewhere around there, yeah. But yeah, we just like kind of commandeered a classroom at Moravian. Did a couple songs.
It was. I was into it
in the interview. Yeah. So, well, thanks for coming back, and of course, we're going to talk about Sounds of the Underground and everything you guys have coming up. But before we do that, just want to give you a chance to remind the nice people out there. Your answers to the 3 standard questions, of course, those questions are, who are you, what are your passions, and why on earth would you want to come back on the Quinn Spinn?
What good questions. Thank you for asking. I am a humble servant in the greater universe's mechanism of life. I'm also Tye. What are my passions? Music, obviously. Local music, independent music, as such are the interests of the Quinn Spinn and your listeners. Teaching, that's my day gig. I'm not playing music. I am a high school English teacher by trade, and also by disposition, as the late, great Dr. Garber of Kutztown University would have said. Shouts out to my alma mater. And back on the Quinn Spinn to talk to you first and foremost. It's been a minute, so it's good talking to you, and excited about the Sounds of the Underground on the 21st, and just a great opportunity to showcase not only like Groove Merchants tunes and my duo with Bree, T&MC, but also just like other great local and like national performers, songwriters. And we were talking, before we started rolling, about the opportunities to do things like this in the Lehigh Valley, that maybe not haven't always existed, but haven't always existed in this capacity with this much ease of access to content and things like that, especially with it happening at SteelStacks. So that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And a huge opportunity, I think, for all of us involved, artists, of course. For us to be able to put on the show, we have to thank ArtsQuest for giving us the reins over pretty much the entire outdoor portion of the campus this on the first Friday night of summer. Like, this is something that, when I first started working there as event staff 10 years ago, like, I stood around thinking, like, how do I do something on that stage? And it's like, here we are 10 years later, and it's like coming full circle. And to do it with artists like yourself and, so many others who we've worked with over the years, like, it's a dream come true. So super excited to have you. Super grateful to Shayna Super and the entire team at Arts Quest for just making this possible. And so it's really a community oriented event, right? You're bringing all these different artists from not only the Lehigh Valley, but from all of Eastern Pennsylvania together to share their gifts, to share their songs, their stories. So for you as an artist to get to mix it up with this lineup, of course, we've talked so much about how diverse it is on previous episodes. What does that mean to you to have that opportunity to get on the Levitt and be a part of that?
It's really cool, man. I think you put a really good event together. I really liked what you were saying when you were talking about like how when you were first kind of working at SteelStacks and with Arts Quest and thinking like, what can we do here, on this stage in this space for this kind of thing? And we'll talk about our Thanksgiving, the Groove Merchants Thanksgiving Eve show more in a little bit, but I kind of had a similar thought in that realm, and that's what's awesome to see Arts Quest. I think you would probably agree, being willing to do more and more of these kind of things and being more and more generous with their time and with that campus and with the space to promote, local music. I mean, that's what that whole complex was marketed as, right? When it was first built, like this is going to be the citadel of arts and music and culture in the Lehigh Valley. Mm-hmm. So, sooner or later, you got to put your money where your mouth is and be like, foster like local, and like Pennsylvania, communities of artists and musicians. And I think this show gives us a chance to do that. So from my perspective, like performing on it, it's a really good opportunity to network and meet other artists and other songwriters. And, the way you have it structured with kind of being like a songwriters round type deal. That's cool because you get to kind of take a little sneak peek into everybody's songwriting and creative process. And then on top of that, it's also cool to be able to do it on the Levitt stage, which I've been fortunate enough to play on a few times. And that's very cool, but it's all, it can also be very daunting. I remember the first time I performed on that stage, my family was like, "Oh, it must have been so fun." And I was like, "No, I was terrified." but that's a good kind of fear to have, you know what I mean? But now once you kind of shake those jitters out, now you get to come and do it. And like that piece is kind of like second nature. Now you can focus on like we were saying, the songwriting aspect and really getting in a good experience from the other artists who are going to be there and like sharing their kind of details and process and just, hearing and fostering like good local original music.
Yeah. And certainly a diverse lineup coming to Sounds of the Underground during the Writers Round portion. And of course, we have the full band portion with Beautiful Distortion, Hoffa Robot across the street after the Levitt portion of the evening. Cool. And for the Groove Merchants and for you, like you have a diverse palette from which you paint, and we're going to get to hear a couple of those songs reimagined acoustically. You and Bree, of course, as T and MC, performing as a duo. And so what can we expect from your performance at Sounds of the Underground?
If I've learned anything in my years having this band, it's whatever I tell you you can expect may not happen the way I lay it out, but it's always good to have a game plan. But this, I think, is a cool experience because, like you said, it's kind of going to be a little bit more stripped down, a little bit more the acoustic vibe. Breeze is an amazing vocalist and an amazing songwriter. And we might even play one of her tunes. I know she just wrote a song for the WXPN 24-hour like songwriting challenge. I don't know if I apologize, Bree, if I'm speaking out of turn here. I don't know if she'll want to debut that one on the Levitt stage, but she's a really great songwriter too. So we can showcase some of her stuff. And if you have followed the Groove Merchants and you're used to our kind of live show and live sound, I think it'll be a nice change of pace and something we don't get to do that often, which is like, do something a little bit more laid back, a little bit more acoustic. We're still going to do our, two of our songs, but, not like you would hear them normally, like when you would come see us like at Music Fest coming up later this summer, like where we have the whole 9-piece band. And I always enjoy that. One of my favorite artists is Alan Stone, and he talks a lot about being able to take a song, I actually like use this idea as lyrics in a song we haven't recorded yet. We played live a few times. We might actually play it at the show. But taking a song down like to the bolts, like to its roots, and like having a song, like appreciating like the energy and like the excitement of when you have horns and guitar and vocal and all that stuff happening on a big stage, but then also like appreciating a song for like the inner workings of like what makes that song tick, so to speak. And I think that'll be happening like with all the artists, because that's kind of how this show is structured. And that, as a songwriter, that's part of it has always been really cool to me. Like I'm always listening, like even like when I'm just like listening to music in my car, like I'm always like listening to lyrics and thinking like, okay, what are like the bare bones of this song? Which sometimes is a blessing and a curse, because when you have a songwriter's and like a musician's lens and you do that stuff, sometimes it can be hard to turn off. Like my fiance and I are planning our wedding in November right now, and we're thinking about like first dance songs and things like that. And I'll have a moment like, oh, but this song is cool, and then I'll like listen to the lyrics and I'll be like, wait a minute, we should pick a different song.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
When
it's cool.
you're really close to it, it can be difficult to separate yourself from it. I was at an event on Friday night here in Nashville, and like it was, I was kind of out of my element a little bit, because it was like a DJ like producer who like produces his own stuff. Like it was a show. It wasn't like, going to a club to hear dance to music necessarily. And it was like I was paying so much attention to, and I was really tired because it was really late. But when I was, locked in, I was focusing on like the LED board and like everything that was kind of going on with the production. And like I kind of wasn't able to like turn that off and just be like, why can't I just be, Well,
it's the way, I think it's the way art works too, man. You know what I mean? And like every art, like you're so hypersensitive to your genre. Like every musician is always listening to those kind of things. But just like when you hear comedians talk about, like, if another comedian gets flack for like a joke, and people who aren't comedians are like, oh my God, that was sad. But then when you hear other comics talk about it, they're like, no, that's fine, because they understand the way that writing a joke works and what that person was really saying. So it's very, very similar to songwriting. And like, this hook is catchy, but also like there's, here's the layers to like what, they're saying in this tune. And that is hard to turn off. You know what I mean? Just like someone who has like worked in production with like lights and sound and whatever, like you're always listening to that stuff. But sometimes you have to make yourself turn it off, or you can like, I remember one time I was fortunate enough to see John Mayer at the Wells Fargo Center. And forgive me if I go off on too many tangents, but
no, all good. It goes where it goes.
I was like, this was in 2017. So the first time I saw him was at the Allentown Fair, on like the Born and Raised tour, when he was just getting back into it after he had like his vocal node deal. And then this was in 2017 after he put out the Search for Everything. And it was kind of like this similar vibe to his Where the Light Is album, where it was like a full band and then acoustic and then the trio with Steve Jordan and Pino Palladino, which I could have done 90 minutes of that and been happy. But and then like back to the full band again. And then I saw him on his solo tour, which was also awesome. But on that one in 2017, I was like, just that idea of like, you have to kind of turn it off sometimes to appreciate the moment. I was like, I wonder if he's going to play this song. I wonder if he's going to play this song. And like his catalog is so vast. Yeah. It's like, you can't play every song. And I finally had to like literally stop myself at the show and be like, just like whatever he plays. Like it's not like you're going to not like something because you are here seeing this show. You paid money to see this show. You know what I mean? So you just got to take it in for what it is, because and like there's people who are not at this show, they're going to be at the show tomorrow night that like, oh, he played that song there, but like he might play songs tonight that those people aren't going to hear. You know what I mean? And so, and it's hard to do, but if you can get good at knowing when and how to turn it off and just enjoy a song or a show or a moment or a movie or, a play or whatever it is, I think that's, again, like we started talking about art, right? And I think that's what consuming art in the way it was meant to be consumed really is. Like, same thing like when you go out for a walk, like, I'm getting out there with the references, but
I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
But like, I don't know if you're a big like existentialism or transcendentalism guy, but like Ralph Waldo Emerson or like Henry David Thoreau. I studied them in college a little bit, and they would talk about like when you go out in nature, like don't like the equivalent today would be like don't listen to music, like don't bring your iPad, like just go and walk, because all the sounds you're hearing, whether it's like dogs or trucks going by or whatever, like that's all what nature intends you to hear at that moment. You know what I mean? So it's the same way with like, it's hard to do when you're like, oh, what, I wonder how he got those lights to work, or like, oh, that's a hip chord change, I wonder what the next one's going to be. Like, that's all cool, but there's also, I think, something to be, I think that you get the full package when you can do that, but also still be able to let yourself just experience whatever that, you know, that thing is.
Yeah, be in the moment, you know, be there, be present. And
that's a much more succinct way to sum up what it took me the last 10 minutes to do. So thank you. I appreciate it.
That's what I'm here for. I'm here to bring it all back together.
It's a good job of any good host.
Yeah, there we go. You know, I'm doing this a minute, you know, I've been here a time or two, but no, I love the insight, you know, and I think like we could definitely do a longer episode too, to go into all that philosophical stuff, because I'm here for it.
No, please. That's I've maxed out my capacity.
Oh, all right. Well, then
I don't want to shame any of my old English professors by trying to delve any deeper.
Okay, there we go. So we covered a good amount, you know, and we'll just kind of, you know, we'll bring it back around to the moments we're going to create.
That's how Dr. Ronan, Dr. Vogel shouts out again. Kutztown University shouts out.
Yeah, there we go. Kutztown getting a lot of shouts on the show today.
Always.
So the moments we're going to create here, of course, it Sounds of the Underground, kick off a pretty big summer for you guys. Of course, you'll be back at Music Fest. You've got a lot of stuff coming up, not just the summer, but throughout the year. So what happens after June 21st at SteelStacks?
Well, it's the longest day of the year. So the summer solstice happens, number one, just to be environmentally conscious about everything. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. This is honestly like our craziest time of the year. And it was weird where like this winter, we had 2 shows in a row get snowed out. We had one at the Kung Fu Necktie in Philadelphia with these other great bands, Drew and the Blue. I don't know if you're familiar with those guys from Reading.
No,
but they're another Kutztown alum. And then so they're from Reading, like stand-up rockabilly. Like he's a stand-up drummer, and they play like real rock and roll, like rockabilly type, like Stray Cats stuff. And then this other funk jazz band from Philly called Featherbird, that our sax player Mike Talento, but actually both our horn players, they're going to be with us this summer at our big gigs. Mike Talento and Jimmy Boyle, they play in that band, and it's all instrumental, all like funk jazz original stuff. Jake Kaplan is the leader of that band. Like he arranges and writes everything. It's really awesome. But we were going to do a show with them at Kung Fu Necktie in Philly in January, and then we had like another one at the Funhouse we were going to do with Drew and the Blue, and they both got snowed out, and so we ended up not doing anything from like November, like end of November, like when we do our Thanksgiving Eve show, until like we just had a backyard show in April, and then we just played at the Funhouse. But that was like the longest we've had off like since COVID, because that's just the nature of how it goes sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then the summer is always like jam packed, so this honestly like it kicks it off. Like we have a few shows coming up next weekend in like Yardley, PA, and at Starbolt here in Fishtown in Philly, where I'm at. And then we Bree and I are at the Sounds of the Underground, and then we'll be at Blues Barbecue in Allentown with our 5-piece, with ham and organ. We rescheduled that Kung Fu Necktie show with Drew and the Blue and Featherbird, so that's going to be June 28th in Philly. And then we're at 4th at the Farm in Quakertown, PA. Another awesome show. Some of our Philly crew is going to be there too. John Gilbride and friends, Rob Tate Band, Hambone Relay, who I know are friends of the show, are friends of the Quinn Spinn.
Yeah.
They're going to be, a one night only performance, because Mark Brown, the leader of the band and keyboardist, he's based in LA now. So he has like Hambone Relay West Coast, but he's going to be back in town for that festival. And so it's all over the 4th of July weekend. And this is their 10th year. We've played it a few times. We're fortunate enough to be, this is the biggest one yet. Solar Circuit, Chalk Dinosaur. I'm forgetting a bunch of other people, but hogwildproductions.com if you want the info for that, or it's at the Groove Merchants band on Instagram. It's in the link in our bio. But we're gonna be doing that 4th of July, and then like shortly after that, Music Fest rolls around. We have 2 spots at Music Fest this year, at the actual festival. I'm really excited about I'm excited about both of them. We're gonna have the full 9-piece band on opening night Friday at the Stadplot stage right before Igor and the Red Elvises go on. So, which is awesome for me because I grew up going to Music Fest, like going to watch Igor, like when I was a little kid, and now we're gonna be playing right before him, which is crazy. And that stage is awesome. I'm so glad they put a stage back there.
It's amazing. It's
Bethlehem.
amazing. Like,
yeah, I love that. And then
it was like the missing piece of Music Fest. It's like I'm so glad.
It's so awesome. I'm so glad they put something back there. It's such a great spot. And then we have a second night at Liederplatz behind the Sun Inn. I'm actually psyched for that one because we're gonna have the 5-piece there, but we're closing out that night, at that stage from 9 to 11. So still, I don't want to spill the beans yet, but we're probably thinking of doing maybe like some sort of theme for our second set that night. So that's going to be pretty cool. And then, we have some stuff towards like the end of August and September. And then, we're back to like, October, and I'm getting married at the beginning of November. So I will not be playing a show then.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. And then end of November, we have this will be Turkey Jam 4. At SteelStacks, Lehigh Valley Turkey Jam. It's gonna be us and Trouble City All Stars making their comeback this year. They weren't able to do it last year, unfortunately, due to some health concerns. But thankfully, they're up and running and healthy, and everybody's happy and good and ready to go. So, they're gonna be back with us for that show this year, and that's hopefully, I think this is the year where that show can really take off. Like I said, it'll be our 4th one. We kind of have the flow down and like have the vibe and kind of the science down to it now. And so we had Rich Jeffries there last year, was able to fill in on short notice. We're from Antarctica. We're gonna have Jenny Founds, local favorite from Bethlehem. We're gonna have her involved in more ways than one this year. And it's a really cool event. We do it Thanksgiving Eve, and we're hoping to make it an annual thing. Obviously, it's going to be the 4th one, but I'm hoping this is the year it really kind of like catches on and becomes something special. Because like we were talking about at the beginning of this convo, when I pitched it to Arts Quest, who, like we said, that it's funny you mentioned Shane. Shane and I go way back. We actually went to high school together. Me and Shane is super, and Ann Sturm, who still does a little bit here and there. She helps us out with Turkey Jam, like and Allie Pozak and like the great staff they have there.
Yeah.
They are really awesome and really generous with like giving shots to like local bands and people who want to create shows like this, which was not always the case there, as but there's nothing wrong with that. When they you got to start and build a business model and build a following and an audience, and then you can have the space to give to other people. And thankfully they do now, I think, which is really cool. You know what I mean? Like I'm still like, it was going through my head when you were talking about the show on the 21st, and like being able to do it on that Levitt stage, which some of these performers may not have ever had the chance to before this. So that's an awesome part of the experience too. But then I was thinking, like, I don't know if I think you had already moved to Nashville by this point, but I don't know if you remember, but a few years ago, they had Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats and the Marcus King Band on that show.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was a free show or not. I think it was ticketed, but both of those bands, like they play Red Rocks now. You know what I mean? Like it was insane that and I was like, I'm standing 10 feet from them. I've played on that same stage they're playing on, but all because the scene of the community in Bethlehem and Lehigh Valley is really cool. At least in that regard of like Arts Quest and those venues to be able to give a shot to do kind of shows and create experiences like this. But yeah, we have a very busy summer coming up. It'll be the 1-year anniversary of our single that we released last summer, Real Estate. It's on Spotify now. You can get everywhere you listen to music. So we might be doing some stuff with that, or maybe even thinking about releasing some new material maybe by the end of the year, like around Turkey Jam. But very, very exciting stuff happening.
Yes.
Very busy, but very exciting.
Yes. All around, just so much excitement happening. And yeah, it's so exciting to see how our original home community here at UMC continues to evolve and grow, and just so fortunate to be able to join everyone back home and be a part of this. So thank you for being a part of it, Tye.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. How is it for you being able to, sorry if I may ask a question myself.
No, go for it. Go for it.
How is it for you coming back home and like putting the whole thing on and like seeing where, I mean, like we were once just taking over classrooms in Moravian when it was Lehigh Valley Underground, and now it's this whole thing, like doing it in Nashville and doing it up here. How has it, the whole thing been for you and like, going forward?
I mean, amazing. I mean, Shane has been amazing to work with. ArtsQuest is, of course, like I have such a long history with ArtsQuest, having worked there now. This will be year 10 for Music Fest for me. I started.
I was just going to ask, you're going to be back for Music Fest too. Yeah.
Yep. I will be, I'll be there, of course, for the Music Fest conference, the first conference I'm presenting on opening day of the festival. And then I got to go over and be the sheriff for 10 days. So,
what does that mean? Because I saw you put that up. I saw you post that last year. What does that mean? Be the sheriff?
So I'm essentially the event staff supervisor on the north side. So,
okay.
I'm the sheriff of the Wild West, because that is the Wild West.
So, on the north side? Yeah. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I'm over there, and all day, every day, and I love coming back, and I love being a part of that whole environment, that ecosystem, being a part of that family again, because that's what it is at ArtsQuest. It's a family. And, I'm just like entering this summer with so much gratitude, the fact that, I literally, my first Music Fest that I worked was standing at the intersection of Second and Founders, looking at the Levitt saying, how do I do something on that stage? Pointing at
right. Yeah.
How do I do something on that stage? And here we are 10 years later. The fact
same thing. So I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. You're fine. The fact that like I'm making my first ever industry conference presentation back home is like such a crazy full circle moment. Like, it's interesting. I live in Nashville, but it's almost like every significant first I have in the industry still happens in Bethlehem. It's like,
yeah, dude. It's the scene there. I remember, I don't know if this way anymore, but I remember back in college, I was speaking of Trouble City All-Stars. I was talking to one of their former players, Josh Crevette, who now lives out in Colorado, another Kutztown University alum, shouts out. But we were talking about, he's from Bethlehem, and he was saying, again, I don't know if this was a true fact even back then, but he was saying, like, I think at one time Bethlehem had like the most live music venues per capita of like any city in Pennsylvania, or like some kind of crazy stat like that. You know what I mean? But it's, that scene has always been vibrant. It's, obviously it ebbs and flows, and it, looks a little different since COVID, of course, as do the scenes everywhere. And we're just now, I think, starting to get back to like, some sort of equilibrium of like what it used to be before, and then what it was after, and like, how do we kind of mesh, and find the middle of the Venn diagram. But it's an awesome spot, man. Like you said, that full circle moment, like even just talking about us playing on that Stadplot stage, we'll be there 7:30 on opening day on Friday night. So if you're around and your sheriff duties allow you, come check it out. We'll have the full 9-piece band there. Bree, who's going to be, with me at TNMC at the Songwriters Lounge, she's going to be singing vocals with Jenny Fowles. We're going to have Mike and Jimmy on horns, John Bickle, fantastic Hammond organ player. And then me, Luke, and Peter, and John Evan, of course. But it's going to be a fun set. But like we were saying, that stage at Stadplots, there was nothing there for years when they built Levitt and all that stuff on the south side. But I remember before they did that, when it used to be America Plots back in the day, now America Plots is at Levitt. So they called this one Stadplots. When there used to be like a covered tent there. And I remember walking over the Hill to Hill Bridge, like hearing the music, like hearing that stage playing, like walking over the bridge, like going into the festival, and like being a little kid, be like, this is so awesome. You could hear the music from from all the way back there over the bridge. And now this will be the third year in a row we've played that stage on opening night. And each year there's been more and more people there each time. So, hopefully we'll be blessed enough for there to be even more this year. But it's just a wild thing. You know what I mean? You got to stop. Again, what we were talking about before, like you got to stop and be able to experience the whole, experience as organically as it comes, as much as you can, and like kind of be present in that moment as much as you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like we could talk all day,
I know. we're running out of time here, but thank you so much. We're psyched about the show, and thank you again for putting it on and everything you're doing. It's very awesome.
Yeah. We'll have to do a part 2. We'll definitely have to do a part 2.
Absolutely. Anytime.
I feel like, there's just, there's so much, there's so much that can be said about like the journey that we've all kind of like intertwined, through the years. And it's all coming back around on June 21st at SteelStacks.
Back around. Yeah, dude. Thank you so much.
Where can they learn more about you online before I let you go?
Where can they learn? They can go to groovemerchantsmusic.com. They can follow us on social media at the Groove Merchants Band on Instagram. Those are usually the 2 best spots to keep in touch with us. We put most of our stuff on the Instagram. And like I said, we got lots of dates coming up. We have some other cool ones that I forgot about that we haven't even announced yet. Towards the Philly region that are going to be really cool. But yeah, Music Fest, Songwriters Round. But yeah, man, I love to come back on. Maybe even during like when we get closer to Thanksgiving Eve, if you're able to make it up here, around the holidays. I'd love bring some other guys in the band back on, talk about the Turkey Jam show and some other kind of stuff. But yeah, thank you again, Gerard. This was awesome.
Yeah, of course. And yeah, we'll definitely keep that in mind as we get closer to the holidays. And thanks for coming on. Tye Vallone of the Groove Merchants and T&MC here on the Quinn Spinn. And I'll be back to wrap us up.
All right. I want to thank Tye Vallone for joining me once again here on the Quinn Spinn. Always a pleasure. And of course, he's joining us June 21st at SteelStacks, Sounds of the Underground. Of course, 8 acts across 2 stages, 7:30 p.m. on the Levitt Pavilion and Town Square. So make sure you join us. It's a free event. It's our homecoming. We can't wait to see you, Bethlehem. And we can't wait to see you following us at the Quinn Spinn. Of course, 2 N's and Quinn, 2 N's and Spin. Quinn Spinn Official on Instagram and Threads. And on Facebook and TikTok, it's the Quinn Spinn. And of course, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts. Underground Music Collective is our central hub for all things independent music, creativity, community, and more. UMCNashville.com. UMC Nashville on the majority of the socials as well. At Nash Live shows, because we don't just do events in Bethlehem, we do them here in Nashville. We've got a pretty big announcement coming up pretty soon, so stay tuned. And if you want to follow me for updates on all those things, the occasional Creed shit post and fitness thirst traps galore at Gerard Longo 12. Revel 9's all become going to take us out. Like it brought us in. Grab some muffins on your way out.